Yeah, so I think the history behind tent cities in Fresno has certainly taken different twists and turns. There have been times when we've had kind of tent cities that are far bigger than what we have today. There's certainly been times when you looked at our highways and saw tents all over the highways, and kind of when we used to have kind of a centralized location on G Street where kind of all the homelessness resided. That no longer really resist. Like there's no ground zero for homelessness in our community anymore. It's kind of everywhere now. Certainly there's been different iterations of kind of these tent encampments on those places. We at the Fresno mission next year will be our 75th year, and certainly our viewpoints as well as our services have changed over that period of time, as really the homeless population has changed. If you go back 25 35 years ago, most of the homeless were addicted to alcohol, not the types of drugs they're doing now. Now, largely it's meth and fentanyl that are the leading culprits that are compounding the mental health issues that are occurring. And so we have maintained that we have always kind of been known to maintain a very safe and controlled environment. It's probably part of the parts of our reputation, always operating something that's safe and controlled to provide spaces of dignity to people. And so we've never allowed camping in front of our properties, and that's because if it's not safe, you can't help people. You can't have mothers driving up in the middle of the night when the entire property has cans and tents all over it. But down the street, certainly in this area, there has been camping, and those have largely provided numerous problems to us. Oftentimes, we get people coming to us in the middle of the night with women that have been raped. It's very common for people to be assaulted in tents, to have stabbings. The gentleman who died, who was stabbed just a few weeks ago, was somebody that was staying with us and was otherwise doing great. We liked him; he was doing great. But the violence that can occur when those camps exist are pretty extreme. And so, one of the other things about the camps that people don't seem to realize is that they are highly, highly related to drugs. In fact, when you can go to cities in Scandinavian companies, they just straight out refer to them as basically drug encampments. And places like Amsterdam that are much more progressive in terms of us, in terms of where what their drug policy is. They believe so they're so harmful to the drug epidemic, that they were having so many problems with heroin, that they absolutely culturally do not allow them whatsoever. And it's like a big thing about their culture. Like, they do not allow camps because it is such a haven for drugs. So here, we have camps. One of the things that the drugs actually tell your brain to do, they actually stop the parts of your brains that tell you to associate with healthier environments. And so chemically, they are telling you to do things that will make it easier to access the drug of choice, which is largely meth. And so everything is driven towards that objective, and everything else that would turn a person away, the drugs chemically tell that person not to do those things. It completely distorts the reality. And so the camps are an extension of that. Well, I can't say this for every person. A large percentage of the people that are within those gravitate those because of the prevalence of the drugs. And so for me, for the Fresno mission, we've always recognized that while we want to be empathetic, while we want to have care and concern for the people that are living in those camps, that are living in those areas, I also don't think that it's loving to allow a person to slowly kill themselves and to live in environments that we would never want a family member living in. The Housing First policy in Sacramento and Washington, D.C. continues to act as a very restrictive, narrow policy. That while it does certainly, that I believe it should be one of the options that we use, because our both of our capitals are so narrowly focused on it, it continues to hinder our ability to truly be innovative and to truly provide additional solutions that I think have proven to be true that have proven to be helping people. Fortunately, I think across the state, we're seeing across the state and the nation, we're seeing increasingly people that are rising up, or in a sense of recognizing, hey, this housing first policy isn't working for us. But with the city of Fresno, I do think that while absolutely good things can happen with it, but because you're taking the most complicated problem and firing a one bullet gun at a problem that is so complicated, I think that we're just very limited because of what Sacramento and Washington, D.C. Can do, even though I believe that Mayor Dyer has done an incredible job and continues to leverage every resource he possibly can to help that. And so I would definitely say that the people of Fresno should be proud of what Mayor Dyer has done and is trying to do. I think the big thing for us is, if you stay in a shelter, the goal is to get you into housing as quickly as possible. And so shelters are defined by city code as stays of 90 days or less that have low supports. And that's defined in the city code. Now, I'm not saying that they kick people out in 90 days, but the focus is really to get people out of the shelters as fast as possible into housing. You will hear the city brag about how fast they do that. And I'm not saying that's even a bad thing for what they're trying to do. But for my approach, if I have a family coming in and they have addiction issues and they don't have a job, they have parenting issues, they have mental health issues, they have physical issues, if they have abuse and trauma that have happened that are still weighing them down like a mental anchor, if they have evictions and other things that are affecting them just from a straight financial literacy standpoint, if the kids have been under school or have been out of school for a substantial period of time, if they have mental health issues and abuse issues and all these different things going on, the last thing I want to do is to move that family on in 90 days. The number one way that we house people in this community, in this state, and across the nation is not in supportive units. That's a complete, that's a misnomer. People talk about permanent supportive housing all the time. The vast majority of homeless people, especially families, are housed in unsupported units through Section 8 vouchers. So the last thing that I want to do is to take somebody, get them out, have them for 90 days or less that have all these problems going on, and then put them into an unsupported unit. That's the last thing that I want to do. And so our philosophical standpoint is, one, City Center is bringing together more than 20 or 25 different nonprofit organizations that specialize in different things. But as opposed to telling somebody, hey, we want you out as fast as possible, our goal is to keep them there for 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8 months, because we know that in order to really get at the issues that cause someone to be homeless, we have to address those things that take more than 90 days. And they also take more than one organization.